Hi, my name is Walker Daniel, and today I'll be sharing my third mind map uh, video. So, I guess let's first, as always, talk about the three readings and sort of what I've gathered from them. So, the first reading we had was Bloomberg. We've been hearing a lot from him. Uh, so, the topics that I kind of gathered, the main ideas is for this reading was you can't have one definition of truth. It's kind of a personal thing. So, for example, religious people find truth in God, while non-religious people, don't really believe in God, don't really find truth there. And uh, scientists kind of find truth in theory, even though they're not like grounded or proven. And other people may not uh, agree with those theories or find truth with the same theories. So it's all sort of subjective. And one question he kind of put out there didn't really answer, which I feel like is fine because it's a something to get the reader to think is like what makes one truth more valid, and there's no like real answer to that. And then finally, and I feel like this is the main idea is metaphors portray truth through common experience that people can relate to and sort of grasp onto it, where it's not like you're not saying like facts, you're saying something like I don't know, this is maybe a little vulgar, but an example I was talking to my friend about was saying this smells like shit. It implies something bad. Everybody knows shit doesn't smell good, but it's built through experience rather than just saying like what it actually smells like isn't gonna mean the same thing from person to person. And I like this reading, especially because it made me rethink of what is true. Truth doesn't equal fact, which is something I kind of learned from this reading. I didn't really, when people say truth, I think like true, hard facts. So that was kind of an interesting, you know, revelation I had. I also found the like truth beyond metaphors really difficult to understand initially because when trying to I don't know, I just found it like really abstract, but I was trying to explain it to some of my friends to kind of get their input on it because it's like, ah, this is stupid, this doesn't make sense. And I it kind of clicked with me over time. So yeah, I kind of like that a lot. Really had me thinking for uh, about the reading for a really long time. And then the second reading we had was Spengler. I feel like this was the hardest reading we've had so far. I mean, the lecture video was like what 3 hours long. So what I got from it is culture is like a cycle, and once it like fully develops, it starts eating itself. He called it cultural decay. Um, and yeah, once it fully develops, it begins to regress and lose uniqueness in a way. And then the second point I kind of gathered is each culture is unique, and that uniqueness helps determine trajectory of its lifespan and how long it lasts, how long it uh, will go before beginning to decay. And then he sort of put these ideas that like what defines culture's uniqueness is through history and what has happened in the past, and then also internal formation and what like yeah, I mean, that all leads to how a culture is unique. And he also mentioned that Western culture is now on a decline, so it's kind of reached it's plateaued, which I kind of agree with, and I'll talk about that more a little later. I feel like yeah, this is a really hard reading. I didn't fully grasp a lot of the ideas, and what I did understand felt kind of abstract. I did like the unique perspective on cultural decay. It's not something I've really thought about. Because to me, I've always sort of seen culture as something that grows on and on. And but now that he's kind of mentioned we've hit a plateau, we began to regress. Kind of tried to reflect on that and try to think like, oh, have I noticed this before? And I feel like I can. Um, one thing to me that I've noticed is I feel like when talking with people, uh, like my example would be like religion. Religion isn't something people prioritize a lot, and I think that's because of the development of development and increased like scientific presence. In fact, has become a lot more available to us. So I kind of see it. And then our final reading that we had was Heidinger, and the main ideas I got were technology is a means to the end, and it is also human activity, and it is a way of revealing new ideas um, and information. And it one thing that I really did appreciate was talking about technology rewrites the way we see things. I thought that was kind of a neat idea because it's very much true. And he said like a field is now a source of food, and a river is now like a power supply. So these objectively natural things have become visions for technology. And then he also talked about inframing as a way to break down things to their bare bones, like the resources essentially. And he did warn us that, like, using and framing, although it can be helpful, can also be somewhat dangerous because it's kind of limiting and you don't see things as a whole anymore, rather as in parts. But then I did really like the way he brought art into it, and saying art is a way to counter in framing, in the sense that you take the pieces and create something whole and abstract. Um, so yeah, I did like this reading. It reminded me a lot of what we kind of covered in the past, talking about how we view technology as kind of like second nature, and like how we are constantly living in technology, and now even the way we see is technological. Uh, so yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I also liked, again, as I mentioned earlier, art being a counter to framing, because um, I feel like art is really important and it's not often talked about enough in such a scientific like field. So that I did appreciate that a lot. Not scientific, but like technological arguments. I don't know. I don't know. To me, it stood out. And now I like to talk about sort of the themes I got from the readings. Again, these readings were really, really hard, so I feel like the themes I've gathered, although I do think they're true, I feel like I could have, or I'm sure there's more. I just couldn't really find anything else. But uh, enough with that. I feel like the main theme across the articles was framing and sort of how we see the world. And I kind of broke it down into two subsections, which is culture and truth. And for culture, I found that it's fluid and created through us and also by us, from like experiences and how we've lived. And I talk a lot about it in my mind maps. I kind of break down each article. So I don't think I should get into it much here because I would run out of time, and I want to keep these a little shorter for you. And then the for truth, I kind of mentioned this earlier with the first article. It's subjective. It's created through the person, through experience again. And yeah, so it's not like facts. It's how we see things. And it varies among everybody. So um yeah. And I try to connect this to AI because it is an AI ethics class or philosophy class. So the way I said it, I found is AI cannot be truthful, nor does it have culture, because everything is built on experience, and AI is built on everything. And by everything, I mean like it possesses ideas from all different beliefs, all different backgrounds. Um, it's like a mixing pot of everything. So it can't really have culture. It can't really have experience. And I feel like all the readings agree with this. Especially Spengler's claim about culture decay, how AI has become, it's like if people use it more often, uh, culture slowly like leaked out because of it being all one giant idea. if that makes sense. Um, and additionally, it can't be truthful because, again, we've mentioned truth is created through experience. It varies between each person, so it can't be truthful unless it like understands the user's background and beliefs. So, yeah, I feel like that's kind of everything I've gathered. And I know it's kind of all over the place. I really tried with these readings, but of course they're really difficult. Especially I feel like in class you mentioned these would be this mind map is one of the hardest. So I really felt it. Um, but yeah, I think I've gotten some of the big main ideas. But, that's kind of all I have to say. Uh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.